So in this video, we'll be talking about the sun in Scorpio in the 7th house. So if you have this placement, you're in the right place. And with that being said, let's get right into it. So the sun shows us our constant way of acting. So like our personality based on how we act. So like our tendencies, because it rules Leo, and Leo is the fixed fire sign. So fixed is about a constant way of being, and fire is about action. So the sun, which is a fixed fire ruler, shows us that. And so this is why it tends to come across to others as our personality, or just the energy that we give off. The sun can also show us our energy levels and is what we radiate in the world. So somebody with a strong sun radiates very strongly and has a lot of energy that people can even revolve around or like be attracted to and want to be dependent on that person, especially in a masculine energy. So if it's like a masculine being and they have a strong sun energy, then this means, a lot of feminine energy will want to depend on that, or they'll notice it. They'll notice that energy levels, and they'll feel like they can depend on it because the sun is that constant energy. That's why it rules confidence, because it's when you act the same no matter what. So somebody with a strong sun, that's another thing that they will experience, is that they just unconsciously act the same no matter what situation. And with that being said, when the sun is in Scorpio, what this shows is the way that you tend to act is constantly motivated by the desires or the psychology of others. And with it being in the 7th house, which has to do with the perspectives of others, and the 7th house is associated with Libra, which is the sign right next to Scorpio. This indicates that your desires are sometimes motivated also by the perception, the actions, or the affairs of others. And generally speaking, your actions tend to be calculated in the sense that you always think about what will bring the best outcome, reaction, or consequences when it comes to your actions. So you're very charming in that way, perhaps, as well, because you know what words to use that will best align to other people's psychology. That's an example. And words are important in this case because the 7th house is the 3rd house from the 5th house, which is the house ruled by the sun. The sun rules the 5th house. So when it's in the 7th house, there's an element of communication ability, or there's just at least a mental process that goes on. So since the sun shows a constant energy, it shows that the mind is a constant buzz when the sun is in the 7th house, at least on an underlying level. It's not like when the sun is in the 3rd house where the mind is constantly running, but in the 7th house, there is constant thought behind your actions. But primarily, you are motivated by the perspectives of others. So you have a more intuitive way of acting. But there's a little bit of thought or calculation that goes behind it. Now, when you have the sun in Scorpio in the 7th house, this means that you have Taurus somewhere in your 1st house, perhaps even the ascendant. But some of you guys may be Gemini risings, but like the large majority will have the ascendant in Taurus, or they'll have Taurus in the 1st house in some way. And Taurus is the fixed earth sign. And earth is about practicality, and it's about resources. It's about matter. So what matters to us? And so with the ascendant in Taurus, this indicates somebody that tends to view the world. Hold on, did I say the ascendant in Gemini? I meant some of you guys have the ascendant in Aries. So with that being said, Taurus ascendant is somebody that sees the world in terms of variables and in terms of resources and in terms of practicality. So your way of seeing the world is you zone in on what matters intuitively. You may not even consciously do this. Earth signs are very plain in that way, like that you don't feel like you're doing anything special, but and I'm an earth sign, so I can relate. But behind your actions, there's always this tendency to hone in on variables or on what matters. You always like to get to the core of something, and you always like to have all the variables planned before you act. And with the sun in Scorpio in the 7th house, or having Scorpio somewhere in your 7th house, this indicates that you utilize the resources of others, or you leverage the values of others as part of a practical or resourceful approach to life, which is marked by your ascendant in Taurus. Now, I was saying something else before this, but I lost my train of thought. So yeah, some of you guys may be Aries ascendant, and Aries borders right next to Taurus, and so this will resonate to a certain extent as well if you have Taurus somewhere in your 1st house and you don't necessarily have the ascendant, because Aries, they have a very objective view of life. They like to get to the core of things, similar to Taurus, but Aries, they are focused on what they want to do or what they want to accomplish. Taurus is focused on objective things, but it's focused on what matters. So it's very close. It's a very similar meaning in that sense. But in this case, with the sun in the 7th house, this indicates as well that your ego, which is the sun, or indicated by the sun, often revolves around the value that others place on you. And so there's a lot of compromising that you do between your own interest or your own perspectives and the perspective of others in order to best align your ego to what will best please other people. Since the sun shows our actions, and since it's in the 7th house, sometimes your actions are actually influenced by the desires of others. So you just literally act based on how other people will best want, or like will best fulfill their deep desires. So this is quite a seductive placement. You leverage others' value. You leverage your value, or you leverage any value that you have in order to reflect to others what they want. So this can show an interest in business. This can show somebody that's very motivated to become successful and to acquire a lot of resources. In fact, your Scorpio sun kind of feeds the Taurus that's in your 1st house. So you use this desire and this motivation in order to elevate your own resources. You leverage other people's desires. So it's very good for business, because the 7th house is ruled by Venus, and then the ascendant, which is in Taurus, is also ruled by Venus. So you have both sides of Venus. And then Scorpio gives an element of Pluto energy, which Pluto is the ruler of money and power and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is a big money placement in general. And the last thing that I was going to say, which I have to remember real quick, is that with the sun in Scorpio, which that's about being motivated, but it's also it's a fixed water sign. So not only are your actions motivated by the actions of others or the perception of others if you're not careful, but a lot of times you feel like your ego is just merged to others. Like, you cannot escape the importance of other people. So like, the reason why is because fixed is a constant state of being, and water is about connection. So you, with the sun in Scorpio, you constantly feel connected to something, somebody, or some situation. And in this case, it's the sun, which is in Scorpio. So your ego feels merged to other people. So there's no other way for you to see your ego than how it is that other people value you. And that's why a lot of your life can revolve around negotiation, dealings with others, or even power struggles in relationships. there's just no, I guess there's just no other way for you to see the ego in that sense. But of course, astrology is much more than just your sun sign. So there could be other placements that indicate something else, or an ability to, you know, have an ego that's based somewhere else. But with that being said, that wraps up this placement and what I wanted to cover for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, or you resonated with this video and you saw yourself in some way, any way at all, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to this channel. And other than that, I will see you guys sometime soon in another video. Peace.